And we were gonna move, like he was down, he was gonna pay it, like we were set, and then Gabby's parents owned the apartment and told me that we can only have one dog. And the other kid had a dog too. So that kid he's in Bama right now. He literally hasn't come home because he doesn't have a place to live. Because his dad doesn't want the dog in his house, and the mom lives in a pet-free apartment.
Oh my god.
So like he literally hasn't. He's still in Bama because he doesn't have a place to live. So like now we're trying to find like another apartment that'll allow 2 dogs.
Yeah.
So that like we can both live there.
It's 1 dog per.
Wait, Gabby's parents own the apartment?
Yeah.
So why can't we do that?
They said it's in our contract that we can only have 1 dog, but like,
all right.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
So we gotta get out of here for appointments, so we gotta go ahead and get started. Let me just take real quickly. So sit down.
Oh.
Does anyone ever eat standing up?
Yes. You wear
I
my
always
like
do that.
All right, Kat's here. Giselle's out of town. Let's see, Kat's here. Juliana, Julia, Danny, Lauren. Okay, so, all right, we're gonna go ahead and get started for this meeting real quickly. So, basically, what this is, it is a fall staff candidate interest meeting. So, all you guys are in different places. Some of you guys don't even know if you'll be here in the fall. Some of you guys will definitely be here in the fall. Some of you guys are super fired up and like, yo, sign me up yesterday, Andrew. Regardless, and I'm also recording this for a couple people that are out of town right now, are not able to watch, but they can watch this later and get back with me. So first thing that we'll do is kind of just to give you guys like time to talk about, you know, kind of what is available, what's up for grabs, what it would mean if you were on our staff in the fall, why it's important, and just what it would entail. So you guys can start thinking and get the gears turning too, because it's going to come from a combination of like you all, it's going to come from a combination of people making like I want my fall staff candidates to be like committed to whatever it is that they are doing. So, you know, I want people that are actually interested in it. I don't want to be pursuing people if it's not something they're interested in. So I want you guys to know some more information so it's easier for you to know too, like what you want. You can kind of frame your decision. So first thing is, like I said, this is for the staff. Lauren is the only person that will even be local in the area after the fall. Other than Lauren, every other person on my staff is leaving out of the area, out of here. So, you know, 2 things. Number one, that's like a big, it's a big deal. Like usually that can really hurt an office. So starting with a whole new staff off from scratch in the fall. And also I can tell you the other thing is like we're coming off a really momentous big summer. So it just means that like whoever is on the, like whoever's on our staff in the fall is going to have number one, it's going to be like, and it's going to have a really awesome opportunity in front of them. You know what I mean? Like a lot of vector offices really do dip down a lot in the fall and spring and really don't do too much significant, you know, work. So that won't be the case with our office too. You know, so it's going to be a cool opportunity regardless. The first thing I'll preface is that the fall and spring is not as crazy as the summer is by any means. Like it's not. Now, I'll tell you, it's still busy around what is going on. Like, so it still seems like busy. It doesn't seem like not a lot during the fall, but, you know, like I'm saying, it's not like it's like you're not working at all, but it just is significantly less in the summertime. But again, around school classes, which most people do have classes and things like that, it's not like a walk in the park where, oh, this is the easiest thing in the world. But it's just nothing like the summer is in terms of like schedule or craziness and all that good stuff. So, and the kind of level and structure of how we'll do our staff will just kind of depend on the candidates that are available. So is that Jordan calling you? Yeah, can you just hold off the room for that? Yeah, so kind of depends on the candidates that are available. So, you know, we have a DOM position. It might be a co-DOM position. It might be just one district office manager like Eddie. It might be 2. It might be none. Okay, it might be something like we might just have a couple. We might have just a team of assistant managers, and then towards November, December, you know, we pick a DOM, and that person becomes a district office manager for the spring, and they would become my district office manager for the following summer. You know, that's another option. So there's different ways of structuring it. There's everything from pretty full-time around class schedule, which is like a DOM position, to a full-time assistant manager, which is more involved, to like a very, very part-time assistant manager, which is, you know, basically almost involved as much as a rep is and has some small responsibilities outside of that, you know, things here and there, but nothing too crazy. So, you know, there's a wide kind of variety of what you could be involved in, which is why I also want you to look at your schedule and think about, okay, if I was involved, like, what would I want to see? What role would I see myself in? First thing I'll start off is the importance. So the importance of these positions, like for me, this is everything. You know what I mean? Like our Eddie, can you close the door? Eddie?
Sure.
Thanks. So, you know, like, this is everything for us. Like, this is our fall staff. These people are the people that I work with closest to each and every single day. Like, these are the people that like are my right hand, like men and women. So, you know, basically our office success is reliant in the hands of these people. The second thing I'll mention too is that like I'm here a lot more in the summer than I am in the fall and spring. Doesn't mean if you're on the staff, like you don't get to see a lot of me or like I'm run removed, but like just there's a lot of traveling involved and I'm out of town like once at least like a week, you know, and like on a different flight, like a lot. So with that said, it doesn't mean like I'm not engaged or anything like that. I'll also be here present. Everything will operate as normal, but you know, it basically just means like I can't be in the office 24/7. So like I need to know that I have people that I can rely on that are accountable, that like I can count on. You know what I mean? And it's gonna like there's nothing worse than being a district manager, just really just owning any business. And you fly out of town and all of a sudden like I'm in another country or another state for a time. And then I get that freak out text and I'm like losing my mind and I'm like out taking care of something else that I'm doing. And it's like, I can't even be worried about that because like, you know, like everything's going to fire, you know, if I'm not there. You know, so our staff really kind of holds the glue. It's like the glue that holds our office down together and really like, you know, it's a significant position and it's really, really important. So talking about specifically, I guess that's why it's so important for me to have the right people. And the people that I choose in the staff. I will tell you, I'll give you an example. Last year, I had a staff in Tallahassee in the fall. I ran a Tallahassee office for the fall and spring. We did awful in the fall, okay? And a lot of that was regarded to, now part of that also was in school and doing a million other things too. But part of that was just the people we picked on our staff. I was working with a staff that like I kind of inherited. I didn't know any of them personally. Or most of them personally. I hadn't worked with most of them in the past, so I didn't know what to expect going in. And I went up to Tallahassee and took on like half the staff was for somewhere else. It's like another group of people, and it just didn't really work out. It didn't work well, it didn't mesh well, and our results, you know, suffered. So it is really, really important to me that I pick and have the right people on board and on the team. So that's the first thing. Let me talk about so what you guys would get out of the position. So if you're on staff, like what you can look forward to, like kind of what you get when you are on staff. So first thing is you get the opportunity to train at the highest level, right? So especially for those of you guys that are excited or could be excited about, you know, if you're excited about getting to TLA, if you're excited about possibly becoming a branch manager or an assistant manager, it's one thing to be in TLA and learn about that stuff. It's another thing, like it's one thing to learn about how to run an interview. It's another thing when you've been on our staff in the fall and you've ran 50 interviews before you go out and run your own office. Like you ran interviews before, you've already done all the functions, right? So you don't get thrown out, you know, and go run your branch office and it's like, dude, what the heck is going on? And you're like basically doing all this stuff for the first time. You've got to practice, you've got to repetition. You're learning the skills that will be involved all through the fall and spring, but they're not gonna have the opportunity to really learn them until next summer right away. Right. That's one of the first things. So I think really that's the biggest thing, the biggest perk of being our staff is that if you're excited about it, being like, cool. Yeah. So if you're excited about advanced if you're excited about TLA, any of that stuff, like being on staff, you will probably be one of the best candidates for any positions like going forward. You're getting you're just getting the most training. You're actually getting one-on-one time with me on a regular basis where every single other person, the way TLA usually works, it's a once a month, like monthly prep or once every month or two. And then we usually have like a 1 hour a week. We'll do like a weekly prep or something like that too. That's really the only thing that TLA like really does. Outside of that, there's not really much. But, you know, so if you're just on TLA, you'll be getting like that basic stuff. But if you're on a staff, it's almost like cool because some of the stuff that we're learning and teaching and you're learning throughout TLA, you're actually getting a chance to practice it and implement it and do it. And, you know, you can practice coaching, you can practice leading, you can practice, you know, your leadership skills, you can practice like running an interview, you can learn, you know, a lot of those skills that you'll develop in TLA that you might not have a chance to actually use in practice board. So being on staff is a great opportunity for that. You also, the pay is cool. You'll make an override off the office if you're on staff. So you make a percentage off the office's sales that can range anywhere from like 0.25% all the way up to something like, 2.5%, 3% sometimes in the fall. It really just depends. I base the percentage that you're at as a staff member based on how much time you're in the office, right? So like you'll have like a certain schedule and things like that. So based on like how much time or energy you're in the office is kind of what percentage you're at. But it's cool so you guys will have that opportunity as well. Now, I'll be honest, a lot of your income is going to be from your personal sales too, for our staff. Like that's an important aspect of being on staff, like is that our staff sells personally. When the staff sells, everybody else sells. And especially in the fall and spring, like one of the biggest standards, I don't hold our AMs as high of a standard during the summer just because they're here so much. Like they're here working a lot. And they have very, very little time to actually get out of the office and go out and do appointments. The fall and spring is a lot different. Like you have a lot more time to do whatever you want in your schedule. It's not as crazy, of a schedule to be on staff. And so just personal sales leadership is important. It doesn't mean you need to sell a lot every single week, but we'll have a benchmark. It's usually somewhere between $500 to $1,000 a week of something like, hey, you need to be doing this each week if you're on staff in the fall and spring. It's usually not anything crazy, but it is something that's like, hey, consistency is key. You got to be doing something, right? So it starts, speed of the leader, speed of the pack. So leading by example. But you do make money off the office, which is cool, which means you can make an extra. It really just depends on the office, how the office does. Typically speaking, our office will do anywhere from, I predict this in about $200K for the fall. We could probably do a lot more than that, but I'd say conservatively, I expect this to do about $200,000 in sales for the fall. And so based off whatever percentage is off, you can kind of calculate it out and get an idea of how much extra income that would be throughout the fall. Next thing, okay, is, and here's the deal. I'll tell you what this, okay, if you just want to make a lot of money, right, I don't think staff is the way to do it. If you just want to make a lot of money and that's your number one concern, you should just go out and sell. You'll make a lot more money. Just be honest. Like you really will. If that's your number one concern is just income and pay. But it's not bad. But like I said, if money is the number one thing, your best bet is just be involved in the office, but go out and sell a ton, anytime you can. Because you probably will make more money just doing that, just being honest. If you're consistent with it, if you're not selling, obviously that's not the case. Second thing is kind of another perk of what you get is the fact that Jeff is going to be in Miami. There's never been a year before, by the way. Every other year, Jeff lives in Delaware, Baltimore. He's been up there, that area all throughout the fall and spring, and he's only really been here during the summer times. He just moved down to Midtown last week. Actually, literally Saturday. So what it means is a lot of the TLA preps are going to be happening here. If you're on my staff, you're going to be seeing Jeff a whole lot more throughout the year. You're going to get a chance to get kind of one-on-one time, and closer with him. And my staff just gets, I'll be honest, you're part of a good office too if you're on this staff. Our staff gets more attention than other staff. Lauren, Rob, Eddie, they get a lot of every single time I talk to Jeff, Jeff asks me about them and I talk about them all the time. Jeff took Eddie out to breakfast, on Sunday morning. I can tell you, there's not really many other DOMs across the company that are going out to breakfast with their divisional manager. So, yeah, there's not any, except maybe Giovanni. That's also because he came from his Fort Lauderdale office, and they've been working closely for it's the same thing. So that's probably the only other one, right? I don't. That's not really a thing. So just know that and kind of keep that in mind. That if you're on the staff, it does kind of leverage you. You're gonna get a chance to get. Jeff will probably be in our office occasionally in the fall and stuff like that too. So and the last thing is just your skill development, the opportunity to really learn up and close skills. You guys will learn the skills faster, quicker. You'll learn the right way to do things, right? Because you actually have me to help you and coach you and teach you how to do them. And I think that goes from number one, Cutco functions. So if you're thinking specifically in Cutco longer term, if you want to run an office, that's exactly what you need to do. The way you want to run a good office, you make yourself the best candidate. If you've developed this skill set already, it's a no-brainer. When they're trying to decide who gets to go run a branch office next year, who becomes a head AM or head DOM, you've developed this skill set at a high level. So not just you can kind of do things, but you know how to do things the right way, and you can get them done. And then outside of Cutco, you're just really developing and well-rounding your skills. So, even if you aren't thinking, hey, this is what I want to do next summer, I think if you're a branch manager, staff is a no-brainer. You should 100% want to be on staff for the fall and spring if that's your goal. If you're not really sure about all this stuff, I think at the bare minimum, you're going to develop a lot of your skill sets and your interpersonal skills and your leadership ability. Just running an interview is cool. The ability to tell someone when you walk into an interview, by the way, and you can say, hey, yeah, I've interviewed more people than you have. Right? It's oh, this is your first interview. It's yeah, on this side of the table. Right? So usually, yeah, exactly. You probably ran more interviews than they have. Literally, that's how I feel walking into any interview. I'm dude, I literally just couldn't even take jobs seriously when I was going on the career fair, talking to people. I'm this is a joke. Okay. That's how I felt just because I'm yeah, this is whatever. Okay. So anyways, you develop those skills as well. So let me go over like that's I guess all of like the general information about it. Let me go over like the specifics, what it would consist of, what it looks like, you know, if you are on staff and things like that. So like I said, the first thing that's important is just like standards. So we'll have a weekly sales standard, and usually there's a PR standard. So the weekly sales standard, okay, for some people, but usually it's about $1,000 a week, right? And then we'll have something, and then you'll based on your percentage, okay, you'll have a certain amount of PRs that you need to get. Right, and that's calling PRs and stuff like that. That's a big community. That's one of the big things that drives us as an office. Like you always see me, Lauren, Rob, like we're doing it. What we're doing is like we're calling PRs, but we're recruiting. You know what I mean? That's how we keep building our team and love creating individual. Like you got a call or a text, or except not all of y'all, but most of y'all got some kind of call or text from, you know, someone around, and that's how you're here today. So, you know, without that, none of you guys would be sitting here. Without that, I wouldn't be sitting here. And that's kind of how we keep building our team. So we'll have standards, you know, that kind of need to be met on a weekly basis. Outside of that, specifically the schedule wise, okay. So if someone is a, you know, so I guess starting off like part-time AMs. A part-time AM usually, you know, so Sundays are shorter in the fall, and even Wednesdays are mostly similar, but they're slightly shorter. Okay, Wednesdays, like people usually don't 5 o'clock. They usually arrive like between like 5:30 to 7. Okay.
What'd you say about Sunday?
Sundays are just a little bit like we're not like there's no one in here at like 12:30 usually on Sundays. Usually like Sundays would go for something like 3 to 8. Okay, that's what would be like the time period that like the office would actually be open on a Sunday. Versus right now, it's pretty much 12 to like 9:30. But again, we're doing all-day phone jams right now, and it will switch back to the normal schedule here shortly. But so Sunday's a little bit shorter, so it's got the normal rep schedule that's just normal for like everyone, right? You might be doing some more managerial things during that time period, and then for part-time AM, they're probably in the office like one day extra out of the week, right? Outside of that schedule, maybe like one afternoon or evening. Everything happens in the afternoon or evenings. There's no champions clubs in the mornings. There's none of that stuff, just because most people have classes. Most people are students, so we don't really do those. Most of the stuff that we do takes place in after 12 p.m. In fact, I kind of got the template schedule in front of me, and like there's pretty much I don't even really have anything Monday through Thursday before like 1 o'clock right now on the schedule, except like something Friday morning. But that's pretty much it. So if you're a part-time AM, it means you're in probably. I say like 1 to 1.5 days, right? 1 day to maybe like 1.5 days. If you're more like a full-time AM, you're probably in like 2 days to 2.5 days a week outside of the normal schedule. And then if you're a district office manager, if you're a DOM, or again, it would be a little bit different if you're a DOM versus a co-DOM. But if you're in a DOM, you're probably there, like 3 to 4 days out of the week, right? And one of those might include like Wednesday, just maybe you come a little bit earlier on Wednesday, like 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock, if that's like considered one of your days or something like that. So again, this is just the general template. There's different things that go on. Like for instance, Rob Rodriguez was an assistant manager for me in the spring. The only thing he was in charge of was active advertising, which is, I don't think you guys know, which is basically when you go to campus, right? And we basically we would blast FSU. Like that's a big aspect of like recruiting the fall and spring is like campus posters. We put chalk on campus. We like obliterate campus with advertising like all over. And that takes like work and people got to do that. So for instance, like Rob Rodriguez was the assistant manager. He didn't know anything this spring. It was like just getting started, but he was one of our assistant. He was purely in charge for the most part outside of like just being a leader on Wednesdays and Sundays and the normal functions. He's just in charge of active advertising. So we kind of have like some part-time availabilities that were like available for that. So he would just hit campus every morning and put up and like do like our active advertising or whatnot for the day, and that helped us out a ton. But there's kind of different, I guess there's a variety of things. It just really depends on the people, like I said, that have candidates and then how exactly we structure it. So I kind of need to know, like I said, I had to see who, number one, is interested and who's a serious candidate, and then their school schedules, and then what I need before I can actually figure out the actual schedule and template. But that's just kind of a general consensus and idea of it. So let me stop right there, okay? Just kind of, in general, on the schedule, there'll be like a staff meeting once a week for like all the staff members. But like I said, it will be as open as kind of like schedule-wise. Like there's some options for you to be very, very like, hey, I'm a sales rep in the office and I have a little bit of managerial experience. That's like a part-time bit of responsibility as managerial experience. office manager, which is like, hey, I'm basically like running the office if Andrew's not here. Like I'm like in charge of the office and like making sure everything gets done. So there's kind of a wide variety there of like involvement that you can have on staff. Here's what I'll talk about each time in position. District office manager, like I said, it might just be like 2 or 2 managers that are kind of sharing the workload in the fall, and eventually one person that, you know, is going to be my my dom for the summer for the year is picked or whatnot. But to give you guys a little bit of background, like my dom will be the person that, like I said, is like really, they need to be really reliable. Number one. So I'd say if something your dom is you're interested in, I'd write these down. Like number one, I'd be like something like you need to be really reliable. Like I just can't, like nothing could be worse than me having like my right-hand person or my second-hand person like unreliable. And I know like, hey, if I go out of town or if I'm not there for a meeting, like I don't have the confidence and know like that like everything's going okay. You know, when I'm here, even if things are going bad, I know Eddie's here, like I know it's fine. Like he's got it taken care of. You know what I mean? Like that's how I know my confidence in our dom. So just, you know, I think reliability is something important. So if you're like, yo, like Andrew, like I'm gonna have a pretty crazy schedule in the fall and spring, and it's gonna be all over the place. If I want to be involved in the staff, then maybe being an assistant manager part time, maybe full time would be a good idea for you. But maybe dom's not. You know what I mean? Like this is, if you're a dom, doesn't mean this has to be your only priority, but it would have to be one of your top priorities. Meaning, just like I would need to be able to count on you, right? And so if something needed to happen last minute, like if you're a dom, it's gonna be a schedule, but it can't be like a super rigid, like, hey, you're in from this time, clock out. You know what I mean? A lot of our stuff that we do as managers is kind of like around the clock, right? So it's like, you know, talking to someone on the phone or taking a call or coaching someone, and it's not always set regimented schedule. If you're really, really part-time AM, it's a little bit more regimented schedule. It might be like, hey, you know, you come in as normal rep, and then from this time to this time, you come in the office, you call PRs, help us out with this function, boom, you're out. You know what I mean? That part-time, but like I said, if you're down, it's a little more free-flowing. I mean, like you're a business owner. You're like running like the office in an organization. So it just means changing. So again, like doesn't need to be your only priority. I definitely would not expect anyone on our staff to like make this their only priority, but it would need to be a priority, you know, for that person or a person or two if they are a district office manager. Just knowing that like, hey, I can count on this person if something needs to get done. You know, they're going to be there and they're not going to like go off the grid for like 3 days and I can't get a hold of them, you know. So that's kind of what I'd say there. That's a full realm. Like I said, I think regardless of what your availability is and your school schedule, you know, if it's something you're interested in, I think could be a position that works well for you. You know, so I am looking and seeing kind of like who our candidates are. Here's the things I need to know. If this is something that you're interested in, okay? Number one, the first thing is I need you to communicate and let me know, right? Because like I said, I need to plan out schedules. I'll pretty much know who's going to be our dom, like who's going to be on staff within the next couple of weeks, which is why I'm having this meeting right now. I know it's in the heat and busyness of SC2, but I don't want to wait till August, right? And then like have people finding out and trying to figure out their schedule and stuff like that. And I want to give people an opportunity to make it. So communication, letting me know, right? And just letting me know like what you're thinking or if you have any thoughts and questions, okay? Second thing is just sales consistency and performance. Like, most of you guys in the room, this is not really something I'm concerned about. I'm not saying you need to sell 15, 20K in the next day or like whatever, like to impress me, to earn the position. But, you know, CPO always does talk, right? You know, like when you're someone that's selling consistently, I can tell you if I have 2 people and every single like thing is equal, they're both great leaders, they're both consistent, they're both reliable, they're both really, really excited, right? And one person is much higher in career sales than the other, or one person is working really, really hard or has shown consistency, I'm probably gonna pick that person over the other person, right? Because I just know like what they're capable of. But again, it's not just one thing. It's not gonna just be your sales. You can't just go sell 20K. I'm like, all right, you're on staff, right? There's a lot come into place here. Other things I just mentioned, like, are you excited? Are you committed? What's your work ethic like? Are you a good leader? Do you develop, like, are you someone that like is like good for our culture? Are you bad for our culture? Like all those little things matter too. And of course, like sales is important. I think if you're going to lead a sales organization, you should feel confident and good about your ability to sell. Last few things that you can do if this is something you're interested in, I'd say leadership now, leadership on your mini teams, right? Like showing me that like, hey, you are a leader on the team, like just little tiny things like leaders. Like last night in the group chat is like a good opportunity, and certain individuals in the room, like you guys did a good job of this and certain people didn't. But, you know, like leading the way and just like getting action created and stuff like that too. Like even if you can't lead with the sales, are you inspiring others to do so? You know what I mean? Are you creating like a cold step up. Because even if it's not like you know what I mean, like it's a team effort, right? So are you helping build a team or helping someone else get there? Last few things, just be all like big part of the staff in the fall and spring is like you got to help you build a team. You know, we're big recruiters. That's part of one of the big things that you learn as on staff is how to recruit, right? So recruiting in your interviews, recruiting on the phone, recruiting just in general in life. So if you're a good recruiter, I can tell you that like there's been some people that I've put on staff that have been awful in sales, but they've just been really, really getting people to the team. And ultimately, if you can do that, like you're going to be a good asset to have on staff. And the last thing is just get on Jeff's radar. Like the more highly Jeff thinks of you, like the better. Always, every single time, because it reflects. It's easier for me to do things. Like he knows exactly who's going to be on our staff with them. We'll have a conference call for whoever gets onto it with Jeff on it. So the more you get on his radar, texting him, keeping communication with him is helpful. Okay. What we're gonna do, I'm going to open up for question and answers here in a second. Okay, is before you leave this meeting, okay, or after you finish watching this video, I need, okay, on a scale of like 1 to 10, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, like what is your interest level in being part of the staff for the fall? All right, and again, just be honest with me, like I'm not, this is not a recruiting meeting. I'm not trying to recruit guys. It's more so informational. You know what I mean? I want you guys to have some information and perspective so that you guys can know too, like, hey, based on my goals, Andrew, here's what I would be excited about, or here's what I would not be excited about, right? So on 1 to 10, where's like your interest level at? Like how excited would you be? And then specifically, like the second thing, so where's your interest level at on a scale of 1 to 10? Number 2 would be like what positions, if any, like caught your specific eye where you're like, hey, Andrew, like I would be someone that would like to be considered for a dom role. Or is it like, hey, Andrew, my interest level is like an 8 or 9, but definitely not for dom, although I could see myself as being like a very part-time AM or like somewhere in between. Whatever the case is, you know what I mean? Like if you don't have anything, you're like, hey, Andrew, I'm super interested. I'm open to anything, whatever, like that you can also say that, okay? So just WhatsApp me that when you're done, right? And then the last thing I would say is what's your interest level? And then do you have any questions, like one-on-one questions that you need to be answered, any specific schedule questions, anything you want to talk about that you have questions for or that just I should know, in taking you into consideration, right? So text me those 3 things on WhatsApp before we finish up this meeting, and then I'll kind of just open it up for the floor for any Q&As or question and answers about anything about staff or just in general.
Yeah. All right, so you said interest level, what position, and what was the third one? Yeah, interest level, what position would you maybe see yourself in, and then did you have any personal, like one-on-one questions? Yeah, what was like any questions or anything I should know about like your schedule or just you or just in general? So, any other questions on anything I just covered? Gotta go. Any questions? All right, sweet. Just send that stuff to me, and I will follow up with you guys on one-on-one on WhatsApp once you guys text that to me. Same thing with people that are watching this video right now. Text me, I'll follow up with you one-on-one, and then from there, we can kind of make a game plan. I'll talk to you guys about it. We'll probably have a PC to sit down and talk. Ooh, here's the last thing. Forgot about this. Sorry. I'm glad I didn't forget this, okay? This is one of the most important things. If you are interested, okay, if your interest level is high, right, school schedule is important, okay? Especially if you are a part-time AM, it's not going to matter as much because you're literally going to be in here like 1 extra day a week, and I'm sure like that, like your school schedule is not going to be that crazy. But like I said, most of the office stuff happens in the afternoon and evening. So I would avoid late afternoon, evening classes. Number 1, like don't schedule a Wednesday class from like 6 to 10 p.m. That should be an obvious one, right? And I know there are some classes like that. And then I specifically would try to, if you're interested in dom, like I said, like I can't have you having like 5 to 7 p.m. class Monday through Friday and be dom. Like it's just not gonna happen. You know what I mean? It's like, well, that's when we're doing everything. So if that's something you're interested in too, I would structure your schedule. Try to do mostly morning classes. Again, if you have a class that you've got to take one-on-one, we can kind of talk about it. And it's like, all right, I got to do this time. Is there something that could work? But in general, the best way to set up your schedule is going to be like fill out your 9 to 12. You know what I mean? Because that's like the least time that we have anything going on in the office. So Monday through Friday, trying to get most of your coursework be done before the afternoon or set most of your classes. If you have questions at college. Say again? That's what I've been doing since I started college. Okay. I just cool. Start online classes. Oh, dude, holy crap. What's wrong with you, bro? See, this is what happens when you play games, bro.
No, you guys are sketching me out now.
He always gets the table knife and gets the back end.
Dude, all you guys do that, and I hate it so much. Stop, dude, stop, bro. Like, okay, anyways. God. Oh my gosh.
That could have been really bad, bro.
Okay, anyways, Eddie did that the other day with me, by the way. He stabbed me with a slicer, and I almost grabbed it, and I instinctively just squeezed it, and I'm like, dude, why would you do that? Why? I thought it was just a pole, and then I realized it was like a knife, and then I almost squeezed it as hard.
What is going on?
Yeah, sorry. This is one of the
He's one of those
All right, sorry. Anyways, school schedule though. Ask me questions if you have questions about your specific school schedule, whatever you have going on in general. If you're on staff at all, I would try to schedule most of your stuff in the morning. If you're a dom, you would definitely need most of it in the morning versus like the late afternoon and evening. That was the last thing I needed to say. So just text me that stuff and we'll follow up one-on-one. If you have any questions, you guys can stay after. We'll finish off from there. Cool. Awesome.
Did you decide your schedule already?